Welcome everybody to Smart Remarks. I'm your host, Mark Impress Preston. Week 12 provided so many crazy storylines from all types of different situations, and we're going to get into that, all of it, in today's jam-packed show. So without further ado, we're going to get this show kicked off. So for our Markman segment, first we're going to talk about the San Diego Chargers defense and Ray Rice. Now, most teams, when they have a chance to win a game at home and the opposing team has a 4th and 29, you would think only in Madden can you convert such, but I have a news flash, ladies and gentlemen. If you didn't see the hey diddle diddle check down to Ray Rice and he ran up the middle and got a first down, and Baltimore proceeded to win the game. Now, if that isn't enough to get Norv Turner fired at the end of this year, then I don't know what will, quite frankly. Now, Ndamukong Suh, who has a bad rap for doing a lot of very funny, entertaining, and violent things on defense, but may or may not have accidentally kicked Matt Schaub in the groin area on Thanksgiving. Now, he wasn't suspended, he was only fined, which I'm glad the NFL actually didn't suspend him for it. I didn't think it was done intentionally, but nonetheless, it's one of these fun things to deliberate whether or not he did it intentionally, whether or not he's a dirty player. All I know is that what Matt Schaub said about him afterwards is totally untrue, because I know if I had a football team, I wouldn't hesitate to put a guy like Ndamukong Suh on my team, because anybody that has a defensive player that has a mean streak like that, well, just really, quite frankly, doesn't have the right mindset to play defense. Last but not least, we're going to talk about the very few fans that the Atlanta Falcons have. And the Saints players complained about their bus being egged before the Thursday night game. I just want to say that if this was Philadelphia or some other place, that ESPN will make a really, really big deal about the story. But here at Smart Remarks, we're not going to make a big deal out of it. I'm actually going to give a little bit of props to the classless Atlanta fans, because hey, they have to have enough fans to care enough about their team to harass the other team. So Atlanta, bigs ups to you guys. Peace up, A-Town down, all of that. Okay, so let's get into our funky bunch for the NFC. At number 5, off a very disappointing loss in my view, have the Green Bay Packers. They're still playing without a couple of key people on defense, but if they want to be playing for the championship, the Super Bowl at the end of the year, they have to play a lot better than that against elite teams like the Giants. And at number 4, speaking of the Giants, they make it back onto the list. You know, they haven't been playing good football for about 5 or 6 weeks. They take a week off and come back and play a very impressive game. Let's see if they can keep the momentum up. At number 3, I have the Chicago Bears. Jay Cutler coming back as quarterback, and the Bears lay a beat down to the Minnesota Vikings, playing good football still. Have a lot of season left, so let's see how the Bears continue to play, especially on the offensive side of the ball, because we know what their defense is all about. At number 2, the Atlanta Falcons at 10-1. I expect them to win versus the Saints on Thursday night. This team continuing to find ways to win close football games. You gotta love that attribute about a football team. And at number 1, with Colin Kaepernick taking over as quarterback, the San Francisco 49ers get that number 1 spot in my view in the NFC. I picked them at the beginning of the year to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, and it looks like they're about to start to position themselves to make a run. Okay, now for our funky bunch for the AFC, we're going to welcome at the number 5 spot, the Indianapolis Colts. Number 1 overall pick rookie quarterback Andrew Luck has this team playing way better than anybody ever could have imagined. And at number 4, the list still remains the same from 4 on up. Still got the Broncos at number 4. They went to Kansas City, tough divisional game, got the job done. Wasn't pretty, but Anybody that wins in the National Football League goes home happy. And at number 3, still got the New England Patriots, who after a bad loss to Seattle a couple of weeks ago has managed to put together quite an impressive winning streak of their own, with Tom Brady continuing to play good football without Gronkowski, without different guys here and there in the lineup. Number 2, still have the Baltimore Ravens playing tough football, and watch out, they're still continuing to pile up wins, and when Ray comes back, it's going to be on and popping when it comes to the playoff time. Number 1, still have the Houston Texans. Wasn't the prettiest of games on Thanksgiving. Involved a very controversial play and rule that we're going to get into later in the show, but hey, they took advantage and they got the job done. So can't complain about a team that only really has one loss. And now we're going to go into the smart picks. Unfortunately, last week my amazing hot streak came to a crashing end. I went 0-4 on the show. I did salvage the entire week. I did go 8-8, and I look to make a big time improvement to get back on top. So, Seattle going to play Chicago. Seattle, good team in Seattle, but can't seem to find their niche on the road. They're going to play the Chicago Bears. I don't think they're going to get it done in Soldier Field now that Jay Cutler's back. Look for the Bears to win that game. Tampa Bay, who's been playing good football, they're going on the road to play Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos, and I don't see anyone or anything getting in Peyton Manning's way to try and compete and get that top spot in the AFC. So I think the Broncos will hold their home field advantage. And in a little bit of an upset, the Indianapolis Colts, and I can't even believe I'm going to call this an upset, but Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts, they're going to go to Detroit to play the Lions. I think the Lions still have enough talent on their team where I think they will win this game at home. So even though Detroit won't make the playoffs, they will play a little bit of a spoiler for the Indianapolis Colts this week. So Matt Stafford, Megatron, and Ndamukong Suh, those guys get the job done. Okay, now for the question mark segment, we're going to look at a very controversial play that happened in the Thanksgiving game between the Houston Texans and the Detroit Lions. Forsett, the running back, looked like he was down, but the refs didn't blow the whistle. Proceeded to get up and score a touchdown. Now, replay showed he clearly, elbow and knee, was down. But the idiot head coach, Jim Schwartz, was apparently unaware of the rule, and something similar happened the week before in the NFL, but since it was on Thanksgiving, everybody is aware of this now. That once he threw the challenge flag, the automatic review of every scoring play and turnover that's been instituted in NFL, that challenge flag canceled out, so the bad call in the field stand, and Detroit eventually went on to lose the game. Now, hopefully the competition committee of the NFL looks at this rule and gets it changed immediately before the playoffs, because gotta tell you, as a fan, as a coach, as a person, this game of football gets very emotional, and like what Schwartz did, you could pull some boneheaded move not even realizing that the play is going to be reviewed anyway. But the NFL knows that they've let a couple of plays, obvious plays on national TV, be called wrong that determine the outcome of games, and they have stupid rules that couldn't overturn it, like Green Bay Seattle on Monday night before the replacement refs left, and now this game. So hopefully, instead of waiting to the offseason or waiting to the playoffs and this rule come up again, NFL competition committee, do the right thing. Change this rule. Let the coaches challenge on a scoring play or turnover as well. Make sure we get the calls right. Okay, I want to thank you for watching another episode of Smart Remarks. There's a lot of craziness this past week, but I look forward to a lot of great football action as we head down the final stretch of critical football games before getting into the playoffs. So we're going to take a knee here. See you next week.